next hot topic is always plus ones.
Yeah.
So who gets a plus one?
So there's like a couple of standard rules. If they're married, obviously, if they're engaged, if they live together, if they've been in a serious relationship. So even if they're not living together, but serious relationship, meaning they've been together, a year, 2 years, then I would say they would get that plus one. It's always nice to extend a plus one to your entire wedding party. Mm-hmm. They're obviously the ones who are closest to you. So It's always nice to kind of give them that offer. Some may take it, some may not, but it's nice to do that. So I would say those are kind of the general rules. I would say another place to consider is if you're inviting someone who doesn't know anybody else and doesn't have like a plus one, it's always nice to give them like a plus one, meaning like a married, engaged kind of thing. They don't have like a standard, one of the rules we just talked about.
Right.
It's always nice to give them a plus one because otherwise they might not come.
Right.
Like, especially if they don't know anyone. If it's a coworker who, you're inviting all your coworkers, you don't necessarily have to give them that plus one because they're going to know a whole group of people.
Right.
But it's awkward to go to a wedding that you don't really know anyone besides the bride and groom, and then you don't have anyone with you.
But you've got cake.
But you have cake,
and
so
hopefully an open bar.
That's right.
I feel like I can make do.
Yeah, I feel like you could make do. Me, not so much.
Yeah, you probably just hop in and start helping.
Probably.
Yeah. Here, let me find the cake knife.
Yeah.
Okay. We need to get this shot.
Exactly.
Okay. So so I'm going to go a little off here. So what if you have somebody who just met someone and wants to bring them, like they just met them at, Barnes & Noble, assuming somebody met in real life, and they met them at Barnes & Noble like 2 weeks ago, and then they wanted to bring them. Is that okay?
So they probably wouldn't have a plus one if they just met 2 weeks ago, like before your wedding, or you mean like before the invitations went out?
Let's say they.
Oh, like they just started like a relationship,
and they just go rogue and say, "I'm bringing them anyway."
So I guess two-part answer to that question. I would probably say if they've just started dating, they're not going to get they're not going to get a plus one necessarily.
Right.
If you have room in your guest list, then it's certainly nice to do that. If you have room in your guest list, it's certainly nice to give everyone a plus one. Might as well. But it comes down to budget and guest list and all of those things, space, all that stuff. So if you have the room to give them a plus one, do it. Why not? If you don't, then I would say that's not expected that somebody would get a plus one if they just started a relationship. If they just go rogue and invite that plus one, that's when you have to decide, is it worth it? Do we have the space? Can we allow for this in our budget? If the answer to that is yes, then you'll probably just avoid the awkwardness.
Sure.
If the answer to that is no, then you call them or text them and let them know, hey, I'm so sorry. We have a limited amount of space and we actually don't have any room to accommodate your plus one. We hope you can still make it. And then they'll let you know. So that's kind of what you would do in that instance.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's not ideal.
No, it's not. Can we add plus ones later? I guess it's sort of a similar question-ish, but
yeah. So I would say for save the dates, you don't have to put a plus. I would say really most people don't put a plus one on their save the date. Okay. So you can wait until the invitations go out to add a plus one, which is 6 to 8 weeks before wedding day.
Okay.
After that, as you get invites in, if the list is a little smaller than you thought and your friend did just start dating someone a couple weeks ago, you could always say like, hey, we have an extra seat. Do you want to bring so-and-so? So that's something you could do last minute. It's a little more casual decision if you want to do that or not.
Gotcha. Okay. So then, how do we specify?
The plus ones?
Yeah.
So this is all going to be done through your invitation. So on the outside of your invitation, if you have a single envelope, it should say everyone's name who's attending. So that would be, whatever the friend's name is, whatever their plus one. If you know their plus one's name, you should always write it. That way there's no ambiguity on who they're going to bring.
Right.
Not to say that people would do that, but if you just say a general plus one, they could really bring whoever they wanted. So you should always specify if you know that person's name and make sure that you spell their names correctly. Especially now with Facebook and Instagram, you can find people's names. So
spoken by somebody whose name is always misspelled.
Always misspelled. So back to plus ones. If you have an inner envelope, then on the outside it would only be like the main guest, and then on the inside would say, the if you have kids or if you're giving a +1. And it's always better to say and guest than +1. So you would say, you know, Mr. Ryan Roberts and guest would be the instance if you don't know that person's name and you're kind of just giving them a general +1. That's a good use too if someone's not necessarily in like a serious relationship, where you can say like, you know, Mr. Ryan Roberts and guest, and that means you could bring whoever you want to bring. You don't have like a specific +1 that you're bringing.